Do you know what this is?
Look, I think I've seen them in movies. Would I?
We blow the shofar on the New Year, on Rosh Hashanah.
But on that day.
On that day. This year
Year.
it's a Saturday, but we'll be blowing it on the Sunday. It's a 2-day New Year. And we'll be blowing it on the Sunday.
A 2-day New Year's?
Yeah, we have it. It's a rolling 48 hours. Listen.
You've got inflation. Mate, you're unbelievable, you guys.
It's a lot of feasting.
You get everything out of 24 hours, you make it 48 hours.
That's it. It's not enough. This is the Jewish Day of Atonement.
Right. I heard about this.
You heard about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was all about a premiership we won many, many, many years ago. And all my Jewish friends are saying, oh, no. I think we might have been playing Carlton.
Yeah,
Carlton in 1993. And Essendon probably have a lot of Jewish people barrack for both of the clubs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was more Jewish people at Carlton than Essendon.
Well,
but I'm saying we got very quality Jewish fans and members. I'll just say that. But anyway, they were pretty shattered when the grand final was going to turn up. And we were not expected to be in that grand final. We were the baby bombers that come from nowhere. And, of course, in the end, it was just one of those things that happened, yeah. But, there was pretty shattered Jewish people in both the camps, mate. Probably in many aspects, I always reckon we saved Melbourne getting burnt to the ground. If Collingwood had lost that one, it would have been just about would have tipped them over. sort of like this COVID-19 lockup, you know. But I think in the end, we couldn't lose to Carlton in 93. I wasn't going to lose to Collingwood and Carlton within 4 years. No way.
No way, huh? So it was a Yom Kippur to remember. Now, to get into the spirit of Yom Kippur, do you have anything to say to Robert Wals, to Walsy?
Walsy? Oh, well, Walsy's, look, we had a very competitive nature about us. I actually like the bloke because I think he's one of the best coaches I've coached against. But you can't say that. You don't get up and say, I like the guys. I'm trying to go and beat the hell out of them. But no, Robert and I have had good discussions since. I have made a few pertinent comments over the decades about some of the people I've competed against. But you know, a lot of people do that in all walks of life and in business as well as sport, as well as politics. But I could easily reach out to Wals because I don't mind the guy. It's very hard to say sorry to Carlton people.
Well, you know what?
It's even really difficult to say, well done, Collingwood people, you know. But, I mean, my gift to Collingwood was the 1990 grand final. I tell them that. And 25 Anzac Days at $500,000 each I get. Yeah. So I've given Collingwood one premiership and $12.5 million, and every year they get another $500,000. So I cannot believe any Collingwood person would dislike me. I'll be shattered.
Legend has it that you came to Mount Scopus College in a banged-up white car in 1973-74 and spoke to the grade 5s and 6s about the importance of playing competitive sport. Do you remember that?
Look, I do. It was out at, I had a Kingswood, Holden Kingswood. And I actually won a speedboat, which I'm not into water skiing. And so I sold the boat and bought a car as a player of the year from one of the newspapers, all right? So it was around that period, around, you know, the early 70s that I had a good year once upon a time. Anyway, the Mount Scopus was good. And I also, at that period of time, joined in Ajax Footy Club into my own football league.
Really?
It's called the Ajax Footy League, yeah, my word. And it was terrific because no one wanted to put the Ajax club into their footy leagues down in the south of Melbourne. So I started my own footy league up with all the high-rise flats because they were one-parented families and people that were struggling a little, and a lot of kids in, you know, in the apartments and that, and the mothers had a bit of a problem. So they were just building footy teams around high-rise flats in South Melbourne, Richmond, Collingwood, Prahran, where I come from, obviously. But we needed just another one or two sort of good footy clubs. And Ajax rang and said, do you mind if we actually join your footy league? And they were terrific. And in the end, the best player that won, and you won't believe this, you will not believe this in the Jewish community, but the best player in the league was a kid called Anthony Pratt.
No way.
Richard's
Really?
Yeah, and it was amazing because Richard rang and said thanks. So that was my first really good, fun turnout with the Jewish fraternity.
So we've got hope. If Anthony Pratt can play footy, so the rest of us have got some hope.
He won the Kevin Sheedy Player of the Year trophy at about 15. He was a big red-headed kid, and he could play. He could play. I know his business career's taken off with his family and all that. And I keep an eye on him from when he was living in America and that. And but I was really pleased for him. You know.
Are you still telling them play competitive sports, or has it changed over the years?
Look, I think the competitive nature of our world gives you a good run in team sports and competitive sports, because when you're young coming through, you don't know what the competitiveness is going to be until you're going to be reasonably well educated. And then all of a sudden, you know that, I've got to get my life going here because, it's a pretty tough little world out there outside of growing up. And I always think that handling defeat, handling what you don't think you're going to get when you think you're going to get it, whether it's winning a footy game or, kicking a goal or being tackled when you thought you were going to get it, all those little things, overcoming injury. Nothing worse when a ball hits you on the hand and you think, oh, God, and you don't even feel like picking up and going for the next mark because your fingers backpedal or your fingernails ripped off. And this is all happening when you're 8, 9, 10, 11. So all those little things I always felt was a great learning curve in the early days of the development of you, the person whose life's been given to you by your mother and father. You didn't earn it, your parents. I always say in my autographs often, love life, it's a gift from your parents. And I really mean that.
Oh. Is there something that you live with from Tom?
Always. He was the idol after my dad died. My father's name was Tom. I was a teenager when my father died, and the next person I met was Tom Hafey.
Really?
Same name, sort of, basically. So from one Tom to another. And in the end, he was a person I could totally focus on because there was nothing else there for a start other than my beautiful mother. And she was a fantastic leader and a nurse that looked after elderly people. So I had very good parents. And but Tom Hafey in the end taught me a subject that you don't get taught in education. And there's two very important subjects we don't look at. And I do a course out at a secondary college on a contract about these two subjects. One is attitude and the other one is common sense. And they're two subjects that we don't study enough. And I reckon some of the leaders of the world at the moment probably need a fair, decent education on these two subjects. Both those things. I grew up, I had nothing but the friends around me and the people, because it was the very first decade after, the World War. I was born in 47, so by 57, that's about 12 years after the war, this country probably had 9 million people. It was hard to have a job. Your parents, one worked, hardly anyone had a car, no one had television till 1956. Yeah. So you got to remind people of all this. What was a mobile phone? Don't even think about it. You wouldn't even know about it. So I go back and say, I don't have any problem. I've been locked up in my garden here, since February. And everyone said, what do you do there? I said, well, I'm building my COVID gardens, not Covent Gardens, COVID gardens. This is my COVID gardens. Covent Gardens, obviously, are famous gardens in England. But to me, I'll make a positive out of a negative. Yeah. And I'm 72 and I still want to be better by the time I'm 80. So I'm going to keep trying to develop themselves. Don't get into a boring life feeling sorry and having self-pity. Sometimes we feel like, things are that hard. I mean, nothing could be as hard as people coming out of that Second World War. And get out of this, take a walk through the Botanic Gardens and sniff and have a real good feel about nature. Because our country's got it. We never see people wanting to leave Australia. Everyone's trying to get here. It's an amazing story in itself.
Flag tip, 2020
Flag tip. I think Richmond will play Geelong.
Richmond will play Geelong and Richmond will tip him?
Well, I'm not going against Tigers. Look, I hear that you've got one of the great caring institutional thoughts I've ever heard of, and that's pay forward. That is buying a meal and giving it to someone else. I think is just exactly what my parents taught me about caring about people in need that have not, and anybody that just wants to buy their friends or people that you don't know in the Jewish community to help them get through this COVID-19 debacle. Pay forward is one of the most brilliant ideas I've heard of. Well done, and congratulations on your organisation, because I haven't been down here to the Ark, but I heard about it, the Ark Centre. And I love the name. Who created that name? I'm jealous. I'm jealous. So well done on your idea. Well done on looking after the community. It's a great credit to your thoughts and your people. And if I don't get this right, I'm going to have all my Jewish mates ringing me up, texting me, and they're going to belt me. I've had lessons. I've got to get this right, Kevin. Shana Tova Yumatuta.
Perfect, Sheeds.
From Kevin Sheedy and my family and the Mighty Bombers.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sheeds. Thank you.